living in a landscape of political violence, and we didn't create this landscape, the left did. By all available data, and in every single poll, the left proves itself to be the violent movement in this country, the organized domestic terrorist element of our political dialogue happens on the left. It is an abject lie and a refusal to accept reality to not acknowledge this. A recent poll by YouGov said that leftists are twice as likely to celebrate the death of someone that they disagree with. Other polling from Gallup shows that the left is 3 times more likely to agree that political violence is the answer when they disagree with someone. Then, in the aftermath of President Trump's near assassination, Charlie Kirk's political assassination, you can see why so many leftists squeed with joy. Many of them are losing their jobs. Nobody wants to live in a country that has a domestic terrorist wing that wants to see you dead. We want to have open and clear debate, but you can't unite with people who want you to die. That's suicide. And so you have to be clear-eyed about what the threat is before us. Thank God we have those in our federal government right now who are clear-eyed. Just in case you're wondering, who is overwhelmingly responsible for political violence in this nation? Charlie Kirk, shot and killed. Donald Trump, shot at a rally. Donald Trump, again, assassination attempt. Amy Coney Barrett, explicit threats. Suspect jailed. Republican councilwoman, shot and killed. Riley Gaines, barricaded. Protesters tried to take her life in San Francisco. Justice Kavanaugh, armed suspect arrested. Attempted murder. Lee Zeldin attacked with a bladed weapon during a campaign stop. Pat Harrigan, family home he was shot at. Christopher Monzon, Marco Rubio canvasser, he was beaten nearly to death. Right-wing organizer shot in the foot. Aaron J. Danielson, right-wing activist, shot and killed. Pro-police demonstrator, shot and killed. Shot and killed. Teeth knocked out. Attacked. Assaulted. Doused with liquids. Assaulted. Sprayed with chemicals. You, of course, remember Andy No, Michael Knowles, these events. Hayden Williams punched at UC Berkeley. Candace Owens doused and harassed in Philadelphia. So on and so on and so on. This is one, of course, of extreme note here in 2017. Remember the congressional baseball shooting when the cucks Republicans in Congress were targeted by a left-wing extremist. His name was James T. Hodgkinson. He asked, "Are these Republicans?" and then opened fire, nearly murdering a dozen Republican members of Congress. Thank God that there was a Secret Service agent there to return fire. Again, a targeted Republican assassination. Nobody remembers this because Paul Ryan, instead of using that moment to eradicate left-wing ideology, left-wing domestic terrorist ideology, everyone forgets about this shooting when James T. Hodgkinson, a left-wing terrorist, went walking up to the Republican Congress members practicing on a baseball field. And he asked, "Are you all Republicans?" And then he opened fire, nearly murdering a dozen of them. And then in the aftermath of this, Paul Ryan united with Nancy Pelosi in saying kumbaya. Instead of using this as an opportunity to address left-wing radicalization and to destroy the ideology that turns people into domestic terrorists, Paul Ryan united with it. Senator Rand Paul, of course, had a violent assault. Someone broke into his house and smashed his ribs. So don't let them lie to you. It's time for people to see this as with the clear eyes that are required in a time like this. And thank God guys like Stephen Miller are in the White House. Stephen Miller explaining on JD Vance hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast, explaining what happens next when it comes to eliminating domestic left-wing terrorism in this nation. Here we go.
Are very worried about how we got here in the first place. And you have the crazies on the far left who are saying, oh, Stephen Miller and JD Vance, they're going to go after constitutionally protected speech. No, we're going to go after the NGO network that foments, facilitates, and engages in violence. That's not okay. Violence is not okay in our system, and we want to make it less likely that that happens. Walk me through, at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness.
Yes, so it's an excellent question. I said this before, and but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him, which is that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence in this country. And I will write those words onto my heart and I will carry them out. If people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger.
The last message Charlie sent me the day before we lost him is we need to have an organized strategy to go after left-wing organizations that are promoting violence. And that is precisely what happened to Charlie. Of course, we know that Charlie is a victim of left-wing violence. God is my witness, we are going to use every resource to dismantle, destroy these networks. It is hard to watch Stephen Miller, of all people, choke up J.D. Vance talking about this problem. It is a massive problem. We, of course, know. Now it is 100% completely known that Charlie Kirk's political assassin, killer, is a left-wing radical ideologue, Reddit kid, who was radicalized by presumably LGBT and transgender ideology. And that those evil ideologies promoted into his mind and potentially groomed him into becoming this monster. We know this because of what he wrote on his bullets. We know this because of what the FBI has told us about his private chats and messages that have yet to be revealed, but we hear that they are going to be. We know this because every law enforcement agent and every person that is close to him called him a far left-wing ideologue, including his Christian-hating, Charlie Kirk-hating, transgender boyfriend that he lived with. FBI nabs 2 men for allegedly placing incendiary device under a Fox News affiliate vehicle, just an hour away from where Charlie was killed. These guys have anti-Trump signs in their yard. They tried to blow up a Fox News van. Is he dead yet? This is one of the signs in their yards. These people are absolute demons. Absolute demons. We must destroy the left-wing NGO networks that fund this. The thing about anger is blind rage is not productive. Focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history. Word. Cannot agree more. So let us unite around the, not just disruption, but perhaps the elimination by law, right? You shouldn't be able to have a domestic terrorist organization. I don't want ISIS having chapters in America. I also don't want left-wing organized terrorism in America. Antifa, one of those groups. Stephen Miller on Charlie's dying wish. Destroy left-wing terror gangs. I'll write those words on my heart and I will carry them out. Strong, strong show, ladies and gentlemen. Crackdown on left-wing groups promoting violence. President Trump has said the same thing. President Trump said this is a massive investigation into all of these groups. And J.D. Vance actually ended the stream saying the same. Saying that they're not going to quit until they get this under control. And then calling out the radicals by name and through data. It's wild. I cannot unite with the left because they want me dead, and they will spit on my grave when I die and laugh in the faces of my wife and children. There can be no unity with such people, but I will unite with anyone on the right. I hereby discard any grudge or personal feud I have with anyone on my side. May we pick up those arguments sometime in the future. Now we have to stand together. Here's J.D. Vance doing just that on Charlie's show.
Now, the most important truth Charlie told is this, that long ago a man, begotten, not made, came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and suffered death and was buried and rose again on the 3rd day. Charlie believed, as I do, that all the truth he told flowed from that fundamental principle. I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. But unity, real unity, can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth. And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. One truth is that 24% of self-described, quote, very liberals believe it is acceptable to be happy about the death of a political opponent, while only 3% of self-described very conservatives agree. 3% is too many, of course. Another truth is that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified, and only 7% of young conservatives say the same. Again, too high a number. In a country of 330 million people, you can, of course, find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything. But the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told. That problem has terrible consequences. The leader of our party, Donald J. Trump, escaped an assassin's bullet by less than an inch. Our House Majority Leader, Stephen Scalise, came within seconds of death by an assassin himself. And now, the most influential conservative activist in generations, our friend Charlie, has been murdered. This violence, it doesn't come from nowhere. Now, any political movement, violent or not violent, is a collection of forces. It's like a pyramid that stacks on top, one support on top of the other. That pyramid's got a foundation of donors, of activists, of journalists, now of social media influencers, and of course of politicians. Not every member of that pyramid would commit a murder. In fact, over 99%, I'm sure, would not. But by celebrating that murder, apologizing for it, and emphasizing not Charlie's innocence, but the fact that he said things some didn't like, even to the point of lying about what he actually said, many of these people are creating an environment where things like this are inevitably going to happen. A couple of months ago, I headlined a fundraiser in Southern California, and since, we'd be out there anyways, my wife and I decided to take our kids to Disneyland one weekend. We had fun, and to be clear, most of the guests said very nice things, or they just left us alone. But there was a loud and very vocal minority that would shout at my children, who were 8, 5, and 3, whenever they got the opportunity. "You should disown your dad, you little shit," one middle-aged woman yelled at my 5-year-old. "Tell the Secret Service to protect the Constitution, not your father," screamed another. Are these women violent? Probably not. Are they deranged? Certainly. And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. After Charlie died, one of his friends and one of our senior White House staffers had left-leaning operatives in his neighborhood passing out leaflets telling people what he looked like and where he lived, encouraging neighbors to harass him or, God forbid, to do worse. While he was mourning his dead friend, he and his wife had to worry about the political terrorists drawing a big target on the home he shares with his young children. Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it. We can thank God that most Democrats don't share these attitudes, and I do, while acknowledging that something has gone very wrong with a lunatic fringe, a minority, but a growing and powerful minority on the far left. There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country. Now, our government, you heard me talk to Stephen Miller about this, will be working very hard to do exactly that in the months to come. We're not always going to get it right. We will sometimes move more slowly than you would like. We will sometimes move more slowly than I want us to. But I promise you that we will explore every option to bring real unity to our country and stop those who would kill their fellow Americans because they don't like what they say.